Hola, buenos dias. Today's lesson is about reflexive verbs, and you do these to yourself. The learning objectives are to explain what a reflexive verb is and state how to identify a reflexive verb. State the reflexive pronouns, conjugate reflexive verbs, and define and use the expression acabar de. So what is a reflexive verb? A reflexive verb ends in se and can include any of the three categories. There are AR, ER, IR verbs that are reflexive, and also stem changing or shoe verbs can be reflexive, and often are. It's a verb that can be done to oneself, or another way to think about it is somebody is doing the verb and then somebody is receiving the action of the verb. Reflexive verbs are verbs that this person who is doing the verb is receiving the action of the verb. And hopefully that'll come more clear when we see some examples. These are normal verbs, but you need to add a step to conjugating them. You need to add the reflexive pronouns out front. So the reflexive pronouns are me, te, se, nos, os, or se. And the way they sound in English is myself, yourself, themself, ourselves, yourselves, and themselves. So an example is in English would be I wash myself. I do the verb, I'm doing the verb, and I'm receiving the action of the verb. So how do we conjugate these suckers? Take a reflexive verb. An example would be lavarse. See how it ends in se, and it falls into the category of AR verb. You're going to drop the se from the end, and then you're left with lavar, but you need to add the reflexive pronoun to the front. Me, te, se, nos, os, se. So we leave those there, and then you conjugate the verb lavar like a normal verb. So it's an AR verb, you drop the AR, and you add the AR endings. So here's what a reflexive verb looks like when it's conjugated. Yo me lavo. I wash myself. Tú te lavas. You wash yourself. Él se lava. He washes himself. Ella se lava. She washes herself. Or usted se lava. You wash yourself. Nosotros nos lavamos. We wash ourselves. Vosotros os laváis. You all in Spain wash yourselves. Ellos se lavan. They wash themselves. Ellas se lavan. They wash themselves. Or ustedes se lavan. You all, everywhere else in the world, wash yourselves. Let's see that again. So another example of a reflexive verb is levantarse, to get up. Now, I should tell you that a lot of verbs in Spanish are reflexive, whereas in English they wouldn't be reflexive. So to get up, we wouldn't say, I get myself up, you get yourself up. He or she gets himself up. But it is reflexive in Spanish. So you have levantarse, you drop the se off the end, and you add the reflexive pronouns out front, me, te, se, nos, os, se, and then you conjugate levantar just like a regular AR verb. Me levanto, I get myself up. Te levantas, you get yourself up. Él, ella, or usted se levanta, he or she get themselves up, or you formal, get yourself up. Nos levantamos, I spelled it wrong, we get ourselves up. Os levantáis, you all get yourselves up in Spain. And ellos, ellas, or ustedes se levantan, they get themselves up. Or ustedes se levantan, you all in Latin America get yourselves up. So how about an example of an IR verb that stem changes? Well, like I mentioned earlier, even stem changing verbs can be reflexive and they still take their stem change. So if you have vestirse, which means to get yourself dressed, It's still going to stem change. The E is still going to change to I in all the forms except nosotros and vosotros. And you still have to do something with that se at the end. So you take it off and you move it out front. Mete se, nos os se. And then you conjugate vestir, just like you normally would, changing the E to I in all the forms except nosotros and vosotros. And so you have me visto, I get myself dressed. Te vistes, you get yourself dressed. Él, ella, or usted se viste, he gets himself dressed, or she gets herself dressed. You formally get yourself dressed. Nos vestimos, we dress ourselves. No, there's no stem change in the nosotros form. Os vestís, you all get yourselves dressed. Or ellas, ellos, or ustedes se visten. You all get yourselves dressed, or they get themselves dressed. So here's a new expression, acabar de. Acabar de means to have just done something. To use it, you need to conjugate acabar, which is a regular AR verb, add de, and then you add an infinitive or an unconjugated verb to the end. So an example would be, yo acabo de comer. I have just eaten. Ella acaba de estudiar. She has just studied. Nosotros acabamos de aprender. We have just learned. Hopefully you've just learned what the expression acabar de means and how to use it. Remember, when you use acabar de, you need to conjugate acabar for whoever just did something. Add the de, and then the verb at the end in Spanish is not conjugated. So when you're using a reflexive verb to have just done something to yourself, you leave the verb unconjugated, but you tack that reflexive pronoun onto the end of it. And I'll show you what I mean. Tú acabas de bañarte. You have just bathed yourself. The de is tacked on to the end of bañar, even though bañar is not conjugated. Acabas de bañarte. You have just bathed yourself. Ellos acaban de afeitarse. They have just shaved themselves. The se is the reflexive pronoun for ellos, and it's tacked on to the end of the verb afeitar. Acaban de afeitarse. They have just shaved themselves. Time to check yourself. Can you explain what a reflexive verb is and state how to identify a reflexive verb? Remember, reflexive verbs in Spanish end in se. Can you state the reflexive pronouns? Mete se, nos os se. Can you conjugate reflexive verbs? And can you define and use the expression acabar de? Muy bien. Ve a estudiar.